Okay. So the first thing you got to do is get the clay stuck down here and then centered. This is the part that most students, including myself in the beginning, find totally confounding, but after a while you learn. And then since I'm making a hollow cup, you got to open it. And since I can't get down in there later when this is tall, I take care of the floor. I like to put a little spiral. Some people don't. And then I'm going to start raising this cylinder. And no matter what you make, you have to make a cylinder, unless you're making a plate. A plate's different. But almost everything else, even a bowl, starts out as a cylinder. Just want to even that up. And so I like using my knuckle for the first pull. This clay is really soft, but particularly if I have firm clay, it's kinder to the rest of my hands because you're pushing pretty hard if the clay's stiff. This isn't, but and then I'm going to even that up again. And then I'm going to switch to using a sponge. Actually, first thing I'm going to do, I like these to have a little shape. And if I give them a little, if I do this now, the top won't be quite dead level, which is nice. Sometimes it happens on its own, but if I'm throwing well, sometimes I got to help it along because if I've done a good job, it should come up even. So one of the things you learn is in the beginning, and I think the first 20, 25 years of my career, 20 maybe, I made nice even round pots, and that's really important to develop these lovely instruments here so that they can do anything you want them to do without your head getting in the way. But then you reach a point, well, I did, a lot of potters do, where you get bored making perfect round even pots because you could make them in your sleep and they're all the same, and then you start playing a little more. And it's harder to play with this porcelain. If I'm using a stoneware and it's going into my wood kiln, I can be much freer and looser. Porcelain, it's a little, it doesn't have any bones. Stoneware has pre-fired, hammered down into little pieces grog in there, which gives it some bones. And it's also got a wider dispersion of clay particle sizes. This has an air bubble I'm going to get rid of right now. And that wider dispersion of clay particle sizes sort of also gives it some bones, whereas stoneware doesn't have that. Stoneware or porcelain doesn't have that. It's a much narrower dispersion of particle sizes, and so it's a little more rubbery, a little harder to work with. I like it, but you have to get used to it. It's a lot easier to get in trouble working with porcelain than with stoneware. We always start people out with stoneware for that reason. Now, I'd like those marks to be a little bit broader. There we go. And then I'm gonna, if I can find it, there it is. I sort of like to define that top a little bit. And then I could, and with a lot of shapes I would, take this bottom off. I would thin this bottom when I was pulling it up. But with this wide shape, with this porcelain, I prefer to just cut all this very bottom off of here because it gives it a little more of a base to pull this up and stretch it on. And then, but a lot of purists would make a couple of more pulls and clean that bottom up. Or maybe they'd be better potters than I would, and they would do it in the same number of pulls I do. And this bottom, this pot is not finished when I take it off the wheelhead. It's got to dry a little bit. It's pretty soft. The bottom is going to have a different foot on it. I'm going to tap this up into kind of 4 pieces. And there's going to be some marks on the side to catch the glaze. But it's just a little too wet for that right now. It wouldn't handle that much messing around. And I'd like to give it a little shape And then I got to take the lake out of the bottom. And that top, I like it, but it's almost going to be, I'm always balanced between a shape I like, which I like that shape. It's going to be a little hard to drink out of, so I'm going to round it just a little right at the top. There we go, it'll be easier to drink out of. And then I like to put that nice kind of thumbprint looking thing on the bottom, so I use a shaped wire. This is a like twisted material. And if you garrote it like that, you get a nice little thumbprint mark on